Dr. Paul Byerley is today with us from MANEO organization from Berlin. We are on an event of civil rights defenders, the Swedish human rights organization, and the OSCE mission in Bosnia and Herzegovina that's related to hate crime. We had a wonderful presentation of you today related to your work in Germany and Berlin that I found quite interesting, and I would be happy if I could ask you two questions. The first question that I found quite interesting is the fact that there is a huge difference between the registered hate crime cases in Germany. We learned that from the OSCE monitoring report, there are around just 50 cases that are registered, but on the other hand, based on your research, we can say that there are more than 10,000 hate crime cases related to LGBT persons. What do you think? What is the reason for this? Why do we have such a low number of registered cases?
I think that the one reason is that LGBT people often don't report the crime, even when they're being physically violent, because they don't trust that they'll be dealt with in a sensitive and accurate way by the police and prosecution authorities. And I think the second thing is there is no real incentive for the police to report hate crimes. It's easier for them to process a crime if they don't describe it as a hate crime. They have fewer forms to fill in, they have less work to do. And also it's the case that there is a long chain of decision making which the crime has to succeed through to be called a hate crime. Mm-hmm. And so there's a chance at every point that a manager in the police force or in the prosecution service or even the final judge may decide that this is not a hate crime. Mm-hmm. And also it's the case in Germany that hate crimes are rather narrowly defined, and often defined only if there is an associated right-wing political motive in the crime. So I think there are a number of reasons. Partly it's how crimes are defined, and partly it's how they're reported by the victim.
Because Sarajevo Open Center is just starting working on issues that are related to discrimination and hate crime towards the LGBT community in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I would be very interested to hear from you how your organization started 20 years ago, and how you get out to the community, to the LGBT community, how you just got the first case, because this experience would be very interesting for us.
Yes, the single most important feedback in this area is it is essential to get out into the community somehow through gay magazines or online sites to tell people that their service exists, and to make sure it exists in different ways, as a hotline or online, etc. Because if you don't publicise yourself, no one will call. And the second thing is to make sure that you have the standards right about how you respond to victims when they do contact you or do call. That it's confidential, their data will be kept private, it will not be shared with the police, except in a very generic way, in the sense of 10 or 15 people have, etc., reported crimes. And that they will find a service that is actually useful to them, for example, counselling. When people are beaten up, it very often affects the whole of their lives. And therefore, if they have a counselling service, and they can then tell other people, their friends, etc., then there is a value to calling up. I think if they call only to report data, and there's no counselling service, then you won't get a very accurate picture of what's going on. The other thing is, of course, which is very expensive, is other forms of data collection like surveys, and there you need extra funding because it's so expensive to do it.
And my last question is, what would be your, how would I call it, your message to the LGBT community in Bosnia and Herzegovina? Why is it important to report hate crime?
The importance of hate crime is specifically for the LGBT community. That hate crime is, if it exists, is a threat to everybody, every member of the community. That at some point, when they're travelling on a bus or train or walking in the street, they are under permanent threat unless hate crimes are campaigned against, and in order to get the issue taken seriously, the hate crimes must be reported, otherwise the police will say there's no problem, there aren't any hate crimes. The next thing is when hate crimes are reported, it enables an analysis to be made of what kind of crimes are happening, where they are happening, which enables the community to be protected. And finally, of course, hate crimes against LGBT people are symptomatic. The more hate crimes of one particular kind happen, the more hate crimes of other kinds happen. And the level of violence in society, in general, over the last few hundred years, has been going down steadily. But it's been going down because of people campaigning against crime and trying to change the society into a peaceful one. Without people being active and responding and reporting about hate crime, that level of violence will not come down.
Thank you very much. I really hope that we're gonna continue learning from experience from an organization like yours, for like MANEO, and that in future also civil rights defenders will support these kind of activities. Thank you.
Very happy to meet you.